Creativity is something that you see in almost every child, from their drawings to making things out of blocks to all sorts of things, problem solving. But as we get older, we tend to lose that creativity and imagination. We go for the easy option, YouTube. The thing is, a lot of workplaces are screaming for these days is creativity. So how can we harness creativity in our kids? Problem solving. I love that stuff. Mykel Dixon has recently released his book, Everyday Creative. I love this sort of stuff. Good morning to you. Lovely to have you on.
Thanks, guys. Great to be here.
Yeah, creativity, almost a lost art in many ways, but it's so important, isn't it?
It's vital, and every day that passes increasingly so. We can see with the pandemic, and we can see with climate change that's coming, and the inevitable transition to a fully automated workplace. Creativity is now the number one skill globally.
And creativity comes in many forms, but thoughts, your creative thoughts, you no longer follow a narrative that's a common narrative that you better go with the tide, swim with the tide. Think creatively, think outside of that. Is there another way to think?
To becoming more creative? Yeah, absolutely. I think that the biggest key to becoming more creative is remembering that you were born creative. Look at your kids. Look at anyone under 5 years old. They've got it in spades. And like you said earlier, that the world digs its teeth into us, and we get forced and put into this box and become a box. But really, it's less about trying to become creative, more about remembering we always were.
Yeah, so what can we do to harness creativity? So let's say we've got a bunch of kids and we want them to be creative. Can you force creativity upon young people, or can you somehow entice them to be creative?
I think you can create an environment, an atmosphere that certainly cultivates and curates more creativity in them. One of the first things certainly is to make more room for space. I know a lot of parents, even myself, but a lot of parents I talk to, they feel like glorified taxi drivers or talent agents. They're going from soccer practice to ballet to guitar lessons, and that's all they're doing. They're always on. But giving kids just a little room to get bored, to stop and just to be with themselves and to be with the world and look out of the window. If you can schedule an hour a day, that seems like a lot, even half day a week, where you're not racing from activity to activity. It's going to give their brains time to just sink in and percolate and let their subconscious do more of the heavy lifting.
Just very quickly before we go, Mykel, there's always this sort of stereotype that creators are like the wacky worker or the kids or that very cool marketing dude in a very colourful shirt. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, that is the stereotypical narrative, and that's what we're all suffocating under, is this idea of what creativity is or who has access to it. But what we've seen in science repeatedly is that we all have roughly the same creative capacity. And the thing that's in the way most for us is less our capacity or capability for creativity and more the story we tell ourselves about our creative ability. So it's time for us to rewrite the narrative on who we are or who we think is creative, and embrace our own unique blend of creativity.
Nice. Good place to leave it, Mykel. Really appreciate your time. We'll work on this one. That is author Mykel Dixon. Well done. Mark, you can dance.